happy that she was finally happy about something. You know what I mean? It just felt like she was always miserable. You guys, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl JD here, back with another video. Today's TV show, as you can tell by the title, is going to be 90 Day Fiancé. This is their happily ever after, pretty much spin-off from the regular 90 Day Fiancé, which I think is what, 9 seasons deep at this point? It's been a minute, but this is going to be 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After season 7, and boy do I have a lot to talk about. So if you guys have not checked out the last episode, I ended up talking about Put a Ring on It, which was pretty much a show on the Oprah Winfrey Network, or OWN. And yeah, child, that was intense. But after this, I think I'm probably gonna talk about Married at First Sight. I was about to say Married to Medicine because I want to talk about that show as well, but I need the season to end first. I'll probably do Married at First Sight, Married to Medicine, and then I'll probably tackle Real Housewives of Potomac. But their seasons usually last a pretty long time, and then of course you have the reunion, so we'll see how that goes. If you guys are into Real Housewives, I also did Real Housewives of Atlanta here on this channel. If you guys want to check that out, I'll link it in the corner here. I have the list of couples here because I didn't want to forget nobody, as per usual. I remember I had actually spoken about 90 Day Fiancé, like the regular 90 Day Fiancé show, not the spin-offs, and I talked about season 9, but it was only the first half of it, and I really wanted to go back and talk about the other half, which had the reunion and all of that, but it was going to be a lot and I never got around to doing it. So y'all can let me know in the comments if y'all want me to talk about that. I can. For right now, I'm watching the Happily Ever After season 7, and I felt like talking about it ASAP, so here we are. Okay, I just got done watching episode 10. I think this week they just came out episode 11, but I'm gonna try my best to not watch it as much for the next couple of weeks because I want the episodes to pile up. Y'all let me know if y'all do that too, because I don't know. It's something about watching, like the binge watching the shows. It's just, I love it, you know? I live for it. We're just gonna hop right into it, you guys, but some of the couples from season 9 we actually see spill over into this Happily Ever After show. Okay, so I already have my skin moisturized. Okay, my face skin. That sounds so weird, my face skin. So I'm just gonna be using my Maybelline Fit Me foundation. I've used this a couple of times already. You guys will see me use it. Probably if you saw my other videos. I just like to dot it on my face and then brush it and blend it in. I'm trying to figure out who I want to talk about first, honestly, because in season 9, like the first half of it that I was talking about in that other video, it wasn't that exciting in terms of all the couples. They weren't really that important, you know, in terms of like an overall storyline being that exciting. I'm just gonna be honest. But this time around on this Happily Ever After, I don't know if DLC just was like, yeah, we got the most toxic couples. You guys are perfect. Let's put y'all together, because it is entertaining as hell. Not always in the best of ways, mind you, but it is very entertaining, okay? Cannot deny. Unfortunately, toxicity is very interesting. At least when it comes to TV shows, I wouldn't want it personally for myself. It's too much drama, too much work. But to watch it on screen is very much so different. So the first couple, I'm just gonna do it in order that I wrote it. Jovi and Yara, right? I've never actually spoken about them, but I remember seeing them in another season of 90 Day Fiancé. And I remember when Yara first came to New Orleans, where Jovi is from, and she hated it. She's originally from the Ukraine, born and raised, I think. And yeah, she was just not impressed at all by Louisiana, or be more specific, New Orleans. Thing is, what irritated me about her, I have to be honest, she kept complaining. That was the one thing I could not stand. I look like a ghost. I'm just saying. Anyway, she kept complaining about every single thing. I was like, God dang, Yara, do you have anything that you're happy about? They're already engaged. He already popped the question. So now they're trying to figure out how they're gonna get married. Should they get married in the 90-day period? Obviously. That's the whole point of the show. But with Yara and Jovi, it was like such a push and pull, like tug of war type of situation. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, it was like, I just wanted to pull Yara to the side and be like, give Jovi a break. To be honest, he had had his faults, okay? I'm not taking up for him entirely. I'm just saying he had his faults, okay? He was very immature and in terms of some of the things he would do. Of course, going to the club all night, knowing good and well Yara at home, you know, he'd just be out with his boys and chilling. And I'm just like, sir, that's okay for you to do sometimes, but not every single night. I can understand because of his job, he has to be away for really long periods of time. And then when he comes back for just a couple of weeks back to Louisiana, you know, of course you want to see your family and friends, you want to hang out with them, you know, but at the same time, it's just like Yara is in a whole other country with nobody. However, even though I think he was very much so immature, Yara would complain about everything. This man stopped going to the club, stopped going out, and this woman would still make noise. God bless Jovi's heart, because I really couldn't. And then, you know, close to the end of the season, well, yeah, I think it was close to the end, they found out that she was pregnant. And, you know, Jovi was like, how? And I'm just like, Jovi, you know good and well how she got pregnant. Let's not play these games. That was interesting, you know, watching them pretty much move straight from being engaged to getting married in 90 days. And then right after that, they had a kid. And now they're trying to move through parenthood and maneuver that, because that's a whole challenge in itself. It was just a lot going on at once. I'm not gonna even lie. I felt kind of sorry for Yara in that aspect. But I do think that it was like, can we find something to be happy about? Okay, you don't like where you live in. You don't like New Orleans. Yeah, okay, you don't have your family and friends. Okay, well, could we find something to be happy about considering that you chose to come over to the US and live that life? You know what I mean? It's like she made it seem like it was all Jovi's fault that she was unhappy. And it was just kind of like, well, I mean, you chose to do that. You know what I mean? But moving on to, you know, their lives in Happily Ever After. Spray that real quick. Ooh, I tasted it a little bit. I have my mouth open. But Happily Ever After, they were trying to get their green card situated. Well, not their. Yara's green card situated so that she could travel to the Ukraine and all that. But then, of course, you know, the war with Ukraine, Russia, that happened. So she had to deal with that. And then, you know, what I find interesting, but the first episode, we open up and we see Yara, she's out, okay? Jovi's at home with their child. But Yara, she's out with her friends, her girlfriends. They're having fun, drinking. And when I think it was like one of her friends had started talking about, you know, their body, and after I think they said they had a kid, they was talking about getting a boob job and how it helped their confidence. And they started talking about Jovi and how he was really controlling. And then they started giving examples of how he was controlling, and I was like, that's not really controlling. That's just him setting his boundaries. I mean, they are married. That's his wife. More than likely, she has like rules and stuff for him. So I don't see how that's controlling when it's a man that decides like, hey, I don't want you out this late, like, you know, don't be going here and there. Like, I don't understand that one. So I, in my mind, was like, Yara, don't be letting these single, looks like, anyway, these single friends of yours try to talk you out of this marriage you in. Because you got it good. Like, chill out. You could have done much worse. That's all I'm saying. Moving on into the rest of the episodes, we get to see that Jovi and his mom was having some issues, obviously, because I think Yara was expecting his mom to step up a lot more and be there for her a lot more for the baby and stuff like that to help her. And she, I guess, wasn't there. So they hadn't spoken in a while. So they had to mend that relationship. And I think, personally, I mean, you can't necessarily put all of that on the grandma, you know, to be there every single day. I don't know if that's what she was expecting from her. But I think a lot of people tend to just put stuff off on grandparents. They're expecting the grandparents to just be there to, you know, at their beck and call. And it's just kind of like, that's not how that's supposed to be. Grandparents are really just there for like maybe 1 or 2 weekends every now and again, and, you know, family outings. Like, I don't think the grandparents should be responsible for the taking care of the kids every single day. Like, that's the parent's job. That's how I feel. But, you know, Yara felt differently. She felt like, you know, hey, you were supposed to be there to help me a lot more because it's just me. Jovi is out to work. So yeah, that was a thing. And then also, like I said, the war with Ukraine kind of popped off, and she was like, well, what's the point of getting the green card now? Because that was the whole thing as to why she was even bothering. Thankfully, her mom doesn't live in Ukraine necessarily, only some of her family and friends, but her mom lived, I think, in the Czech Republic. So she was able to go there instead and see her mom. So that was a good thing. I'm happy that she was finally happy about something. You know what I mean? It just felt like she was always miserable. I just felt like her attitude was just so icky. Almost every time I would see her, like, she just looked so unhappy. And it was like, Jesus, you know, like, smile a while. She was finally happy that she was able to go see her mom. They had a fight about that too, because she was like, as soon as I get the green card, I'm gonna be leaving. I'm gonna go to Czech Republic to see my mom, yada yada. And it was just like, why don't you just wait until your husband can come with you? Like, I don't understand why that was even a conversation. He has to work a couple of weeks, then he's coming back. Just wait. But anyway, she wanted to see her mom. She hadn't seen her in like 2 years, I think. So I can understand that. Before they go to the Czech Republic, after they get the green card situated, her friends want to go out with her. And Jovi's like, well, I mean, I kind of want to celebrate too, because this kind of has something to do with me. And they're mad that he shows up. And it was just kind of like, I mean, it's a celebration for him too. His wife now has a green card. Like, she could travel, they could go places. I don't really understand. That was just strange to me. Yara leaves them for a split second, and you could usually tell when it comes to certain friend groups, the dynamics within them, when there's 1 or 2 friends in the group that are like the more, I guess, boisterous ones. That was one of the friends that spoke and was like, yeah, I think you're controlling. And I was just kind of like, how is he, again, controlling for wanting his wife to make the best decisions for them and their family? You're a whole mom now. You can't just be moving like you single and don't got no kids. You know what I mean? I just think that her friends are kind of dumb. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm gonna come right out with it. Her friends are kind of dumb, and I do think she might need to get some new ones. I'm just gonna be honest. They might lead her astray. When they went to the Czech Republic to visit her mom finally, they were having an okay time. I think the episode that I was watching, it left off where Yara and Jovi, you know, we're pretty much kind of arguing a little bit about the whole wanting to see apartments in the Czech Republic situation. And I would be mad too if I was him. Like, we did not talk about this. We didn't discuss it. She's just like, oh yeah, I don't know why he's so mad about this. We're just going to see it and I'll be paying for it with my money. Why are you so upset? And it's just like, what do you mean? You are married. You are not by yourself anymore. You have a child with this man. What do you mean? I don't understand how she doesn't understand how that's problematic. So that was pretty much Yara and Jovi in this happily ever after, well, at least up to episode 10 so far, how their scenario has been looking. Now, moving on to Ed and Liz. If you guys remember Ed, aka Big Ed from the other 90 Day Fiancé, he was dating, I think it was Rosa. Jeez, I done forgot her name. I'm sorry. Our relationship was all over the place, child. Both of them, I think, had a part to play in the demise of their relationship, but Big Ed by himself was interesting. I think he was also in the 90 Day Fiancé, The Single Life. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's like a 90 Day Fiancé all-star at this point. He now finds another love, okay, that he is now engaged to. Except this one is now American. So he doesn't have to go back and forth, I guess, to another country this time to complain. Because I swear, when he went to the Philippines, he was complaining almost every goddamn day about something wrong, something dirty. I was like, Ed, I'm gonna need you to chill, my man. Now he has another relationship. Looks as though he found someone willing to put up with his BS. I'm just going to be honest. Willing to put up with his insecurities, so to speak. And what's crazy enough is that he's actually going to therapy, and it's like he's still having major issues when it comes to the dating market and communicating with his soon-to-be spouse, you know? What I thought was a huge red flag between Ed and Liz is the fact that they even opened up and said to all of us in the beginning, like, oh, we were broken up and all of a sudden, you know, we got back together because of this, this, and that, and now we're engaged. Woohoo! But then they also say that, oh yeah, we were off and on for quite some time. We'd actually broken up 8 times within the last however long their off and on relationship has lasted for. And I'm just like, how is this not a major red flag for you? That you broke up and got back together a total of 8 times. I'm like, what? But either way, Big Ed is now engaged to Liz. They're trying to plan a wedding. And when it comes to Big Ed, more so his mom and also his daughter are now not supporting this relationship, obviously because it's so tumultuous. But what I have noticed beyond the other red flags that I've already mentioned is that Big Ed definitely has a lot of insecurities that Liz, you know, obviously she's a lot younger than he is. There is an age gap. I think she's 20 something and he's like 40 something or 50 something. I don't know. But there's a big age gap. You can clearly tell that there's a lifestyle difference as well. But they find fun very different when it comes to her relationships with certain people. Like at their engagement party that kind of led to that big blow up. He just kind of accused her of being a lesbian. And I'm just like, okay, why couldn't y'all talk about this after? Clearly she is intoxicated. Like, y'all in front of family and friends. I mean, why do this right now? But what's even dumber is the fact that Liz gets very upset. She storms off. The production crew follows behind her because obviously it's the middle of the night. And she decides to pretty much take the ring off. It ends up in the bushes somewhere. And somehow, I guess the production crew ends up driving her back to Big Ed's house, I think, where she was staying with him. And yeah, it escalates from there. And she's just like, yeah, we're calling this engagement off. She basically comes out and says, I lost the ring. And it was a $13,000 ring. I just thought that was rather interesting that they actually ended up waking up and mending the whole situation. But you could clearly see that Liz still has a lot of scars. She was married twice, which I think is absolutely crazy. Now that I look at it, I do have the ages written. Jeez, Jada. I forgot I had the ages written next to the names. So Ed is 56 and Liz is 29. That is a huge age difference. To be married twice and divorced twice, all within a 29-year period, like, that's a lot. Ed had actually invited her to his therapy session and it sounded like they kind of got some things out on the table, but I still do think overall, like, they got issues. And I don't know if they should stay together. But moving on to Bilal and Shida, I definitely mentioned my feelings about them, their situation leading up to them getting married in the other video, but this time around, y'all, it is interesting. So, I don't know if you guys saw the tell-all for, or that's what they call the reunion, but pretty much kind of like a tell-all or reunion for season 9. And they actually invite Bilal's ex-wife on there to talk about kind of like the blow-up that I guess happened with Shida and her ex-wife came over to Shida and Bilal's house to talk about the prenup because Shida, she still wasn't, you know, trying to sign that. Like I said in another video, I really do think she definitely should have. But this is before she decided to. I think that men just need to protect themselves when it comes to marriage because you really don't know. And I think that she was having a difficult time understanding that when it comes to divorce, especially in the US of A. As a guy, you definitely do get the short end of the stick, is what I'm saying. So he was just trying to protect himself, protect his children, and I think that his ex-wife was trying to convey that as well. However, she did come across very aggressive. And in the tell-all, I think that's all that Shida was trying to convey to her. But again, she still was not hearing any of it. So they really did not work anything out on that tell-all. And then it carried over into this show, Happily Ever After. And they go to dinner. They try to work things out, you know. And the ex-wife, she stands up, okay, after things escalate super quickly. I was like, what in the world is going on? That ex-wife really showed her behind. I was like, what Shida said was not that crazy for you to be standing over her like that. You just look psychotic. Bilal just kind of sat there and was like, oh, y'all pretty much need to work this out. He wasn't no mediator. He didn't say nothing almost that entire time. And I was just like, you are the worst husband. Like, worst husband award goes to Bilal. Like, geez. He just sat there and said nothing. And the ex-wife was just like, you better get her. You better get her because you know me. You know, I was like, girl, who? Especially coming from the Caribbean myself, I know for sure. Shida from Trinidad, she probably would whoop your That's all I'm saying. In terms of Bilal, I just think he did a terrible job with that. And it was crazy to me that he thought he had the right to be mad at her. First of all, your ex-wife is the one that escalated that situation really fast. It went downhill super fast. All Shida was trying to do was to get her to understand why she felt the way that she felt and why she felt disrespected in that moment of her coming to her house. I don't understand why that was so difficult for her to understand. And she's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not gonna apologize for something that I didn't do. And it was just like, what do you mean? That's how it came across. So why not just apologize for the part that you had to play in her feeling that way? You know what I'm saying? What's crazy to me is that Shida, she felt so bad. She's trying to make him like food and stuff to bring up to him to apologize. And I was like, apologize for what? You wasn't the one that was standing up arguing, making a fool out yourself. You sat there calm. Don't get me wrong, she did started like kind of shouting a little bit, but really and truly the ex-wife started that ish. Oh, that made me mad. The fact that Bilal really was almost taken up for his ex-wife in that moment. I just don't feel like he has Shida's back. It irritates me. It's like, yes, I understand that you want peace. You want harmony, obviously, because that's still the mother of your child that you have to deal with, even though that's your ex-wife. However, you are now also married to somebody else. You have to now have her back. You can't just have your ex-wife acting all crazy around your current wife. And also we have that other issue where Bilal's still trying to run around in circles when it comes to Shida having a baby or them having a baby together. This woman is now 37. Yes, I understand you're 43, you have 2 kids. You don't want to see marriage end in a divorce again with kids. I get it, okay? He keeps presenting all these cons and all the things that he's afraid of, but it's just like, y'all made a deal. You better figure this ish out. That's all I gotta say. Even his family was looking at him like, okay, clearly he's gonna have to make a decision and real fast because that's unfair to Shida. They went to the goddamn doctor. And he was like, obviously, she is in that point in her life where it's like do or die. You know what I mean? Obviously not die. It's not that dramatic. But in terms of having a kid, it's just, you know, the chances of her getting pregnant naturally, it's definitely limited, you know? So I was just really getting aggravated, honestly, with Bilal. The fact that he, you know, was pushing this woman to sign a prenup, but now when it comes to having a child, the one thing that she was asking you to do besides helping her to start her business up in the US, just have a kid. I feel like if you guys are stable in your relationship or marriage and obviously you feel as though you guys are in a good place. Yeah, I understand they had only been married for like, what, a couple weeks at this point? Or months. Yeah, it might have been almost a year at this point. I still think that it's like, you know, at some point you got to realize, okay, if this is what my wife wants, I might have to give and take. That's how I feel. Because clearly she's now 37, she's running out of time. So they have a lot that they need to work out. Bilal, I think, needs to do better as a husband in terms of having Shida's back, because he really just kind of left her for dead. I was just so mad. How you gonna let your ex-wife talk to your current wife like that? Like, what? Anyways, moving on, child. So now we're gonna go on to Sumit and Jenny from another season. Sumit and Jenny. Oh, child. They had so many issues with their relationship. There's, of course, that age gap. Jenny is 63, okay? She's 30 years Sumit's senior. Sumit is 33. And, ooh, child, I think after them getting married, they realized how difficult it really is in terms of the whole age gap situation, because they are now in 2 different points in life. And that's why, as well, of course, you know, in terms of having kids, she can't have kids at 63. But I think that's, you know, another reason as to why his parents were so against him marrying her. It's like, it wasn't even the point that she was American, that she wasn't an Indian girl, she wasn't traditional. It was just the fact that she couldn't have kids. That really bothered them. But again, you know, Sumit, he also said that he didn't really want kids at one point. After a while, I think he was considering adoption, but just for his parents. But the thing is, you are now married, so you kind of have to work that out with your wife as well. And then also, there was an even bigger blow up after Jenny and Sumit thought that his parents, Sumit's parents, were now going to pretty much turn their head the other way and let them, you know, do whatever they want to do, get married. But now we find out that, oh, what I said is incorrect and I'm taking everything back. I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that. How do you never say something that was captured on TV and put out on national television, or international at this point, because you can watch it pretty much anywhere. I just think that's really funny. Jenny, you know, she doesn't find that real funny, because now Submit is still trying to get the acceptance of his family, or support I should say, and it's just like, it's not happening, my man. Not with a 60-something-year-old woman. I personally don't understand the appeal. I'm just going to be real. She's definitely not the most attractive 60-something-year-old I've seen. So I don't really understand that one. However, hey, you do you. But I just don't understand why he didn't just find someone his age. I'm just going to be honest. He could have really done without all of this drama in his life. Oh, child, I guess you do crazy things when you're in love. There's an even bigger blow up between him and his parents. They're refusing to talk to him at this point, and it's just been rather interesting. And now Jenny is proposing that they go back to the US, where her and her family, they're happy with them being together, I guess. So we might as well just go back there, live life. That's not what he wanted. But then again, coming from a Caribbean household, where family is definitely very important, I can understand why Submit is so attached to them and why he definitely can't be leaving India anytime soon. I understand it. And on top of that, not having their blessing, not having their support, him not being able to talk to them, yeah, I could definitely see how that would lead you to a lot of frustration. And Jenny, I think, is just more of like a, oh, well, you know, they don't support us, let's move on, you know. But it's just like, well, that's not really your family, so you probably would never understand. But I understand her frustration as well, because now it's just like, I'm not gonna stay here with people that don't like me and don't want to talk to me, and I'm alone here. This ain't even my country. Every now and again, he would poke fun at her cleaning style and her not being the traditional Indian wife, and she need to learn how to do certain things. And it's just like, this woman is 63. Like, what? You really gonna be moving around the house like she 30-something or 20-something? No. It's so funny to me. I was like, she is not Indian, she's American, and she is 63 goddamn years old. I'm gonna need you to get over yourself. Who married her? You did. Anyway, so now we're gonna move on to Usman and Kim. Ugh, Usman and Kim. Honestly, they need their whole video. Like, just a whole video dedicated to their drama. Because there was so much. Literally every single episode, there was something that had to be talked about. Because it was like, we're not gonna just glaze past that like you didn't say what you just said. You know what I mean? Where do I even start with Usman and Kim? But Usman was on 90 Day Fiancé before, and in that other season he was actually trying to marry another woman that I can't remember the name of. It was another white woman actually as well, and you know, obviously American. And he got the blessing from his mom and family to get married to her, and they ended up getting a divorce shortly after. And there was also a huge age gap with them, but you know, the mom was like, okay, you know, I want you to be happy, and then of course you could have like a second wife to have kids and stuff like that. And it was like, okay. But then they ended up getting a divorce, and now his mom is looking at him like, what is going on? Are you really bringing another old woman to me? No offense to Kim, but she is much older than he is. She is 51, he's 33. So you gotta be honest somewhere, you know, right? So with obviously Kim, she came to, I think it's Nigeria, right? Yeah, Nigeria, where Usman, I think this was the first time that Kim had come over, and she was bringing gifts and stuff, and you could clearly see that it was more of like a sugar mama type of relationship. Even though they smashed, it's like you could clearly see that Usman wasn't really fully there, because they weren't really in a relationship just yet. She was more of like a fangirl still that he was just talking to and flirting with. He, in the episodes that I've watched leading up to this episode 10, he kept talking about how there's other women, in terms of women throwing themselves at him, younger women at that. And it's just like, well, why don't you go with them? It's a little stranger to me, Usman's relationship with these women and Submit and Jenny. With Submit, it does seem that he genuinely likes, well, not likes, but loves Jenny, obviously. When it comes to Usman and Kim, I almost think that with Usman, I can't say he has mommy issues, because he clearly has a good relationship with his mom. I personally think that with Usman, it's just like a fetish to him to be with older women at this point. I just don't understand how he would even think, you know, in terms of Kim going to his mom's house to get the blessing from her and his older brother to get married. How did you think this was gonna go? This is the second time you're bringing an older woman to your mom's house after she told you, I need grandkids. Y'all need to stop playing with your parents. Give them their grandkids. I'm just kidding. But yeah, give them the grandkids because they'll just keep hounding you, child. Okay. Anyways, but obviously you got to do that in your time. However, don't be making them wait too long because they just gonna get aggravated. But yeah, she wanted her grandkids, child, and this 51-year-old can't give that to her. All she got is an older son at this point from a marriage that she had to end. At this rate, it's just like, come on, let's do better. I would just say with Usman and Kim, I think I'm gonna have to make a separate video, y'all, because I don't want to spend all day talking about them, but they got so much going on. There's of course the issue with Usman even having a second wife, which I thought was hilarious to me because she's the one that suggested it. So I'm just like, how are you now angry that he's considering what you suggested? And then she was saying to him that, you know, hey, when it comes to those kids that you have with your second wife, I don't really want to know about them. Your second wife shouldn't even be in my city or the city that we're living in together. You need to see her in another town over or something like that. And it's just like, what? How do you think this is gonna work out? Like, this man need to see his kids. So I just think that is just so silly that you would bring up the idea of polygamy in the first place and being a sister wife, so to speak. But then you don't really want to be a sister wife, really. I just think with Kim, she's just throwing things out there just to sound like she's easygoing, to seem more like the ideal partner for him. But she knows that she can't do what is expected for that relationship really to work. I just think she should just leave that alone, in all honesty. But, you know, like I said, they need their own video because, ooh, that is a hot piping mess. We're gonna move on to the last two couples. So one of those couples being Michael and Angela, another age gap couple. I don't know what be going on. It's like, for some reason, older women, especially in America, I don't know what's going on with them. Is there a little bit of like loneliness mixed with desperation or something? Like, you need to meet your Nigerian prince. I just don't understand why you can't just find someone where you at. But anyway, so Michael, I can't exactly remember how their story of how they met went, but I kind of sort of remember that they had met online. And I think that Angela thought at one point that he was a scammer, but they ended up like talking on like video chat and stuff like that. And then she ended up going to Nigeria to meet him in person. Then they had some issues there. Really and truly, I think it's more so because of Angela, because Michael does seem like a very laid back type of guy. And I think that with Angela, her two main issues is the fact that she is very much so in your face. You know, she's very upfront with her feelings and thoughts, boisterous even, very loud, but also she has the issue of like insecurities. For example, back in the 90 Day Fiancé, you know, episodes that they were in before they got married, I remember they had their bachelorette / bachelor party in a club, and Michael was like looking at other women, like glancing at other women. And I'm like, y'all are in what looks like a club / strip club at this point. So it's just kind of like, you kind of put yourself in that situation, you know, to be almost insecure in a way. I personally feel as though Angela, in this season, she definitely did Michael really dirty. And the fact that Michael is still trying to work things out with her is mind-boggling. You could clearly see that Angela, I don't know if she's in the business of like lying to herself or what, but she likes to make what she does out to be not that bad. And she obviously likes to demonize Michael. Like, every single thing Michael does is just wrong. And it's just like, Angela, I cannot take anything you say about Michael seriously. When you're speaking to another man in a flirtatious way, clearly, okay, talking about coming to meet him in Canada and Toronto, wherever he is, and y'all met over TikTok. Y'all do these little duets and stuff on TikTok, and you think it's just gonna be okay with Michael? The fact that you're speaking to someone almost every other day that you're not in a relationship with, you're not married to, it's another man, and you're talking about going to go see him. Like, what? Are we gonna glaze over that right now? So that's why I can't take anything that Angela says serious, especially when she started getting on Michael about having social media. I just think that's just very, very hypocritical. I can't even stress that enough, that is super, super hypocritical and wrong. But anyways, I just think that's just so silly that she showed up without telling him in Nigeria with her friend and just started acting a fool, and knowing good and well that this man lives with his parents. So you not only look a fool on national television, but you also look crazy as hell to his parents and family now. It was embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. That was the first time I've ever even seen Michael get that mad. Usually he's really, really calm. That's pretty much it with Michael and Angela. They ended up sleeping together after that whole craziness because I guess Michael had promised her that he was going to delete his social media, but really and truly he wasn't. He was just trying to get some pum pum. So I don't really blame him for it because obviously he hadn't seen his wife in a really long time. Of course he gonna finesse them cheeks. All I'm saying is I just think that's really hypocritical. Like everything that Angela says and complains about, why should he not have social media? Like what has he done? Like she's super insecure. But anyways, that's all I gotta say on them. They got a lot they need to work through, clearly. But we're gonna move on to the last couple, Andre and Elizabeth. I think Andre definitely has major anger issues. We get to see a lot of that in the other 90 Day Fiancé season. I can't remember exactly which one, but all I know is he ends up tackling Elizabeth's brother. Don't get me wrong, I do think Elizabeth's family is a piece of shit, but for reasons that I'm going to get into really quickly. However, we're going to talk about Andre first. I think Andre definitely has a tendency to fly off the handle really quickly and really easily. Almost anything can set him off. It's like walking on eggshells really when you're dealing with him, and people like that I hate to deal with. So I understand to some extent why his family obviously pops off at the handle around him as well. You know, besides that, when it comes to this show, Happily Ever After, I personally think that Andre, he has been handling himself a little bit better. Let me just clarify. It's better than what I have seen, but it's not the best yet, okay? So I still think that he does talk to Libby or Elizabeth in a way sometimes where I'm just like, that was really, really poorly handled, especially when he got called in. But he got called in for a surprise interview for his green card renewal, and they kind of told him like, this is really weird that this even happened. Like his lawyer even said like, it's weird. So someone could have called in to say something about you or complain about you, and his mind of course is automatically going to Libby's family. After the interview, they come out and they're super, you know, not in a good headspace. Andre definitely takes that time to cuss Elizabeth out. I was like, what is going on? Like he was just using F-bombs left, right, center. I was like, what is happening right now? I understand you're frustrated. However, I think you as the man in this situation, you should be a lot more level-headed and calm. Even if you're frustrated, don't show that. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, it's your job to remain as calm as possible, because once the man in the relationship loses his ish, everybody is going to lose their ish. He definitely needs some anger management classes, for sure. In terms of Elizabeth's family, or Libby's family, it seems as though Libby's dad is the only one that has a relationship with Andre right now. Everybody else seems to be obviously on the fence with Andre. They would talk to him, be cordial, but clearly you could tell little side comments here and there that they would say, snarky remarks, just to get under his skin. They do not like him. I get it. Obviously, he's not necessarily the most likable person. Like I said, he has anger issues. Flies off the handle real quick, okay? Who wants to deal with that? However, I do think that sometimes it would be in the middle of having a good time sometimes, and everything would be going fine, and his family would just find some things to nitpick at. Like, for example, there was the party that they had. It was like a housewarming because Elizabeth and Andre moved into a new house. They were still angry at the fact that their dad is working with Andre with the whole real estate thing to begin with. And it was just kind of like, I don't understand why y'all are mad when this has nothing to do with you. I just don't understand how they don't understand the importance of separating their personal feelings from their professional feelings. Because if you start to get your personal feelings in the way of the professional, that could definitely hinder your work, hinder your pay. Yeah, so I just think that when it comes to getting this money, if they're still working with their dad and with the whole real estate thing, financially it would be in their best interest to just shut the hell up, you know what I mean? But when it comes to the personal, with family dynamics, in that case, yeah, you could say something. But when it comes to the professional, I feel like you should keep that opinion to yourself. Like I was saying, they were having a housewarming and they brought up the fact that there was a lot of people there that they never met before. They didn't know who they were. It was actually because Andre decided to use that housewarming as an opportunity to meet new clients for his real estate. And it was just kind of like, why do you care so much? Just really like small sidebar conversations like that it was just like, y'all just look for things to be mad about. And it just gets so irritating. Like, don't get me wrong, like I said, Andre is no saint. However, if you have a family like Elizabeth's or Libby's, I can understand how it would be much, much harder to contain said anger, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. We find out at the end that Elizabeth and Andre are expecting another baby, and I think in this upcoming episode that I need to watch, or might binge watch, I don't know, maybe later on. But they're going to announce that to their family. So I'm happy for them, but I just hope that Andre, of course, can figure out his green card situation, because if not, he could be deported. And, you know, in terms of the family structure not being destroyed in that case, obviously Elizabeth and their daughter would have to go with them. So that would be a very different life for them in Moldova, where Andre is from. So yeah, it's a lot going on there. Like I said, with Usman and Kim, they're gonna need their own video because that one was a lot, okay? They definitely had a lot more going on versus the rest of the couples that I talked about here in this video. I really only got to talk about one or two things with regards to them, but stay tuned for another video. It's coming. I am out of breath at this point. I need to drink some water. I need to rehydrate after all this talking. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this really long behind video. You could of course let me know your thoughts about each couple, everything that's been going on thus far, your frustrations. Let me know in the comments, okay? Offload, because it can be a lot. 90 Day Fiancé is a lot, okay? But I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.